कि इसकी जिम्मेदारी तो किसी ने कबूल नहीं की, लेकिन इसमें टीटीपी अगर मुलव्वस है तो टीटीपी के लोग जो हैं वो अफगानिस्तान की सरजमीन पे मौजूद है। उसमें फिर ये बात जो है ये तो फिर साबित है कि
Former Pakistan Prime Minister and PTI leader Imran Khan took to social media platform Twitter to express his condolences. He said he strongly condemns the terrorist suicide attack in Police Lines Mosque during the prayers. My prayers and condolences go to the victims' families. It is imperative we improve our intelligence gathering and properly equip our police forces to combat the growing threat of terrorism. Pakistan's Peshawar has repeatedly been targeted by terrorists, including a recent attack on the counter-terror department in Bannu, where suspected Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan terrorists took the entire counter-terror department hostage and the army had to be called in. With rescue operations continuing to bring people buried under the debris at the mosque, the casualties in Peshawar are only expected to rise. Bureau Report, India Today. So the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, it's a banned terror outfit in Pakistan that's claimed responsibility for a suicide attack at this mosque in Peshawar. 47 dead, 150 injured, and most of these are policemen. Now, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, it's carried out a series of terror attacks against security forces. Last year, you'd recall, a Shia mosque had been targeted in Kocha Risaldar. 63 people had been killed. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan had there'd been a sharp spike in terror strikes both in North and South Waziristan, and very recently a video went viral of TTP fighters arresting and reportedly beheading a Pakistan Army soldier, issuing a notice that Pakistani Punjabis are no longer welcome in Peshawar and in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan for more on the story. Geeta, what more can you tell us about the TTP claim? And will the Pakistan Army actually mount an operation against TTP, or like APS Peshawar in 2014, leave more TTP personnel and enter in a deal with them?
Well, it's a very, very unfortunate incident, Gaurav, but then it reminds us and the world that there are no good or bad terrorists. And the fact that there is a huge problem today between Pakistan and Afghanistan has to do with this very same fact that yesterday you were okay with the Taliban and the support that they extended to all other wings. But today, you do have a problem in terms of how there are safe havens on the other side, and Pakistan has been able to do very, very little about the situation when it comes to cross-border terrorism, something that India has faced for years and for decades. So it is a huge problem. TTP for now has claimed responsibility, the death toll only rising, and many succumbing to their injuries in the hospital. We'll again have to wait and see how Pakistan really, even if they intend to mount an attack and take on the Taliban, the TTP, Tehreek-e-Taliban in Pakistan, how are they really going to do that?
You know, the question is, are they unable to target them, or are they unwilling to target them? Geeta, stay with me for a moment. Why am I asking you this question? Because remember, it was in December 2014 when terrorists stormed the army-run Army Public School in Peshawar. A total of 132 army children were killed, and former ISI chief, Lieutenant General Asad Durrani, he said it's collateral damage in a high-stakes game that Pakistan is playing for Afghanistan. Listen in.
Collateral damage. There is a price to be paid for this type of game. It's a high-stake game.
It's collateral damage.
Right. High-stake game. Some people, like you believe that we created a few groups, the other side would also do that. No, this is the only way this game is going to be played.
So 132 children killed. ISI chief or former ISI chief in Pakistan says it's collateral damage. So are these snakes in Pakistan's backyard biting the hand that feeds them? Will Pakistan learn any lesson, or like General Durrani said after APS Peshawar attack, is this also collateral damage in a high-stakes game? Not for the weak-hearted. Joining me on India First is Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain. He is former Kashmir Corps commander, follows Pakistan and developments very closely. I have two guests from Pakistan. Kamar Cheema is a security affairs analyst, and Kaswar Klasra is a senior journalist who joins us from Islamabad. Kamar Cheema, I want to come to you first, sir. Are these 47 deaths at Peshawar, in your view, also collateral damage in a high-stakes game that the ISI is playing for Afghanistan?
Well, I think there is one thing which should be understood, that from 2015 to 2020, Pakistan had a serious, hard-earned counter-terrorism gains, which have all been lost because of this policy of appeasement and for these talks with the TTP. One thing. The second thing is that if you just see that the UN Security Council's report that came in 2020 July last year, which says that the TTP benefited with the return of the Taliban, and the TTP enabled itself, and it merged with so many other non-state actors. So I think Pakistan lowered the guard. We should have been more alert. And then the many terrorist organizations, they got in connection with each other. Some Baloch militants group, they got in connection with each other with the TTP. So that's how things got deteriorated.
Okay.
So the situation could have been much better if the military would have gone and the political class would have kept deciding that we should use we should be tough against the TTP.
But
and then at the
Zarb-e-Azb, sword of Allah, Zarb-e-Azb was launched, fighter planes were used, attack helicopters were used against own people in Pakistan, artillery was used. General Hasnain, the way Peshawar is being targeted by terrorists, it would appear there have been no lessons learned after Army Public School Peshawar terror strike in 2014. Now we are in 2023, almost a decade later.
Absolutely, Gaurav. There's no doubt about it. The internal conflict within Pakistan, the internal security situation has actually worsened. We all thought it would improve after the control that Pakistan was supposed to have established over Afghanistan after 31st of August 2021. That has obviously not happened. Geopolitically, the environment has changed. The Afghan Taliban in Afghanistan are not so much in favor of Pakistan today. They realize that no one in the world is going to come back to Afghanistan in a hurry. This is the window for them to be able to operate. And the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan is taking full advantage of that. 2018, they were supposedly a defeated lot. Well, a defeat in counterinsurgency operations of this kind is something which is debatable. They may have been neutralized to an extent, but I don't think the TTP was ever defeated. The networks were all there. The potential of the Taliban coming back to support them was all there. And now you're seeing that the situation is in favor of the Afghan Taliban, actually favoring the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and using them against Pakistan.
So which means Pakistan will continue to bleed, it seems.
This is the beginning of what we are going to be seeing in the future.
It's just the beginning of what will come. Ye to trailer hai, Kaswar Klasra picture abhi baki hai, it seems. But my question to you, Kaswar Klasra, and since you keep a hawkeye on all that's happening, whether in Islamabad or Lahore or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, is Pakistan unable or unwilling to take action against Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan?
Well, Gaurav, very good question. Let me tell you, Pakistan security forces, especially the law enforcement stages, when we talk about its security forces, apart from Pakistan, the army, all of the other organs of, the Pakistan security forces, they are just crumbling before these terrorist organizations. You have rightly pointed out that in history of Pakistan, when we talk about the terrorist, activities here in Pakistan since 1947, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan remains at the top of the list. They have intelligence. They look at today's terrorist attack. The attack was carried out in a mosque which is situated in the heart of Peshawar. It is one of the most well guarded locality where they have struck. So that means intelligence failure was there. And Pakistan political, the class, they don't have will to take the bull, I mean the bull like
the horns.
TTP
Okay.
by the horn. So it was completely failure, and Pakistan state is crumbling before the terrorist organization fasting. And secondly, that Pakistan's lack will to tackle these terrorist organizations. They lack it. So that is perhaps the fact that TTP is still there. TTP has regrouped, and it has, as Kapar Jima told us very precisely, that the TTP has got alliance with the ISIS and other organizations like BLA.
Okay,
They are more
give me a moment,
powerful
General
today.
Hasnain. A strong professional army and a nuclear weapons state
Exactly.
appears, as Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said, overwhelmed today. Is there a lack of desire to act against terrorists of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan? Does Pakistan
Just on paper.
still hope to use these terrorists against neighbors, or is the rot now too deep?
See, Gaurav,
just on
when the
paper.
Pakistan army started its campaign in 2014, post the attack on the Karachi airport and post the attack on the Peshawar Army Public School, I, for one, was analyzing that the conduct of operations was fairly professional, except for the fact that there was an overkill of the use of weaponry, gunships and things like that were being used in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and places like that. But nevertheless, the Pakistan army was doing it professionally. 1/3 of their infantry brigades were virtually deployed in Operation Zarb-e-Azb.
Yes.
But today, Gaurav, you have to understand, and I think all our audience needs to understand this. Pakistan is a nation under strain, politically strained, diplomatically strained, and most importantly, intellectually, economically, and radically strained. When you have a combination of so many things which are straining the nation, you cannot find a focus of intelligence to be completely, sort of pointing towards anti-terrorist activities and things like that. This is a typical case of an intelligence failure, something which should have been picked up by the Pakistan intelligence. But because of the fact that the nation is under such strain, and perhaps the intelligence services themselves are focused in different directions, they are not being able to pick up all this. And I fear that their capability to fight the TTP today, in under today's circumstances, is going to be highly suspect.
Oh, that would be alarming, Kamar Chima, because Peshawar police lines, as Kaswar Klasra also very rightly pointed out, on Khyber Road is said to be one of the most secure parts of the red zone of Peshawar. And this suspected suicide bomber, according to Pakistan Army, to Pakistan government, succeeded in entering the mosque, reaching very close to the Imam and carrying out this terror strike. Could there be complicity within, sir?
Well, I think there are a few things which we should understand. First of all, I think Pakistan's relation with the Taliban regime in Afghanistan, they also got deteriorated. If you remember, there were certain jailbreaks in Afghanistan. Because of that, the TTP elements, those were in Afghanistan, they were released. And unfortunately, we had installed the fence at the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, and that fence even couldn't stop them. And we know for the some fact that some of the political class, even Imran Khan, was open to give a statement that majority of the TTP elements that came from Afghanistan, we couldn't stop them because they were Pakistani citizens. So how come Afghanistan could keep them? So that was a very loose statement that came from the former Prime Minister Imran Khan. And the problem right now, Gaurav, is that the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and the Punjab, they are going through process of elections because in both the provinces, the assemblies have been dissolved, provincial assemblies have been dissolved, even in the national level, more than 100 member national assemblies, seats have been dissolved. So it seems that this entire year is a year of elections. And there is a probability of the rise of violence because the political class, public, everybody will be vulnerable. But one thing, if you understand the attitude of the militants, that they are targeting the government officials, they are targeting the police, law enforcement, because if they target the general public, that will create a havoc that these are people who are targeting the public. So they are giving a message that our target is the law enforcement agency. So either it is police or the army to demoralize. But the government has absolute capacity and the capability. All what they need is they need a national will. They should
Interesting point you raised there, sir, that the government has the capabilities. But Kaswar Klasra, do you see a crackdown on TTP or negotiations with the TTP after Army Public School Peshawar? I mean, you know, in any civilized country, if 130 children had been massacred, the army or the police would have gone after these terrorists in Pakistan. Some of them were let off.
I think it's a high time for the Pakistani government and the Pakistan's, the security forces as well. But the ball is still in the court of Pakistan's political class, political government. They have to ask, they have to direct security forces to move their gun on the terrorist organization like, the TTP, BLA, ISIS, and other things as well. So it is a high time because we have lost, as you have rightly pointed out, we lost a number of brilliant students there in, Army Public School attack. So that was perhaps, including me, we were under the impression that the red line had been crossed. So now the Pakistan's political class and Pakistan armed forces will quell militancy from over there.
I have last 10 seconds, General Hasnain. I want to give you the last word. Do you see negotiations with TTP, or do you see military operations, or do you see a confused state that Pakistan is in, also because of the political flux?
See, Gaurav, that's a very interesting question, no doubt. At the moment, Pakistan is going through a major crisis, and that this crisis is in different domains. Ideally, the Pakistan army would want to retain its own professional image, and for that sake, if nothing else, it should be targeting the TTP whole hog. Almost in the same manner that they did it in 2014, 15, 16.
Okay.
But I doubt that they can do it because I think the problems that the Pakistan state today is suffering from, politically, economically, diplomatically, particularly from the ideological angle, I find that this is overwhelming the state itself.
Well, the Prime Minister said so. He said he's overwhelmed. I've run out of time on this part of the show. General Hasnain, Kaswar Klasra and Kamar Chima for joining me here. Gentlemen, many thanks. We'll be tracking Pakistan very closely. Must keep a hawk eye on what's happening to the adversary. A quick break. Abha Bakaya up next with Business Today. Stay with us.
At least 7 people were killed after a gunman opened fire at a Jerusalem synagogue on Friday evening. The latest attack amid rapidly escalating tensions between Palestinian militant groups and Israeli security forces. Police said the gunman arrived around 8:15 p.m. and opened fire, hitting a number of people before he was killed by police. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack, which took place as worshippers gathered on the eve of the Jewish Sabbath. But it comes after Palestinian Islamic Jihad launched nighttime rockets from the Gaza Strip into Israeli territory. The rockets triggered air raid alarms in Israeli communities near the border with the blockaded Palestinian coastal enclave. Israel responded to the rocket fire with airstrikes into Gaza. And a day earlier, Israeli security forces raided a West Bank refugee camp where they traded gunfire with armed Palestinians. The operation left at least 9 Palestinians dead, including militants, and at least 2 civilians. The months of violence, which surged after a spate of lethal attacks in Israel last year, have drawn fears the already unpredictable conflict could spiral out of control, triggering a broader confrontation between Palestinians and Israel. The U.S. on Friday condemned the terrorist attack in Jerusalem. A State Department spokesperson said American officials were in touch with their Israeli counterparts and did not expect any changes to Secretary of State Antony Blinken's planned visit to Israel next week.
How you make money and how you beat the market. 3 very experienced practitioners of all that with me. I don't need to introduce them. Ramdev, Shankar and Nikhil, all of them you know very well. Nikhil's the youngest, but he's been remarkably successful with Zerodha over the last few years. So my hat's off to him for what he and his brother have achieved over the last few years.
I'll tell you one simple golden formula to beat the market as an active fund manager, okay? And that is if you get the bear market right. Because your biggest alpha will come when the market falls 40 and you're falling only 20 or 10. In a bull market, you will not be able to beat the index. Impossible. And therefore, if you have the skills to get a bear market right, and you fall half the market, you fall 25% of the market, you have put 20% point in the bag, and then you will gradually fritter it away over a 3-4 year period to still end up ahead in the game. And which is why it's an underappreciated skill to get the bear market right. Okay? And bull market, ultimately bull market, most people will have similar stocks. It's very hard to be away from, the consensus trade. So therefore, the skill where you can add value as an active manager is to get the bear market right. And occasionally, if you get that right, and I think every 3-4 years you will get a down year, just make sure you get that part right.
When is the next bear market according to you, Shankar?
I don't think it's happening anytime soon, which is a problem for active managers. Okay, it happened, 2 years back, in COVID. Now, if you were alert enough, you could have seen that. I mean, it was not difficult to spot that there was some degree of fall coming, not a bear market, maybe not a huge bear market, but I think from February 2020, there was enough data and the screen was telling you from Japan up until Italy, schools are closing down and everything. I mean, that was not like a SARS virus. It was very clear this was a catastrophe, a calamity, and they would have some impact. So if you positioned yourself through some hedges or if you could short in your structure, I think you would have made significant alpha. Right there, in a month, you could have been up 20% relative to the market if you were smart enough to do that.
Hello and welcome. You're with us here on Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Here are the headlines.